Our first speaker is a very knowledgeable lady about fire insurance. She is tops in her field, and I've heard several presentations. There's a lot of misinformation about fire, and she helped clarify a lot of it and may answer your questions. She also will have a table outside that you can, by the entranceway, that you can go and ask her more specifically. So this is Maria Britton from the Britton Insurance Agency.
I'm Paul Gilchrist. I chair the Fire Safety Council, and I would also like to acknowledge all our elected officials that are here. Supervisor Turnboom. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like to acknowledge all our elected officials that are here that we've gained a lot of support from. Could I have the supervisors in the room please stand up? From the CSD Board of Directors, Dawn Hudson and is there anyone else? Okay, thanks. And again, thanks you all for coming down. This is all volunteer work we do. We're a 501c3, and we just want to educate people on how to protect your homes and make this a safer place to live for everyone. And as we all know, Cameron Park is a special place to live. So I'll turn it over to Maria.
Hi, I'm Maria. There's my contact information. Sid has asked me many times to come share some information and knowledge with you guys, so I finally said, okay, fine. So I have 10 minutes and a lot of slides, so we're going to go through easy questions such as fair plan fire insurance. Changes are coming. We are going to have great guest speakers today. April 2023, there were huge insurance regulations that were rolled out requiring insurance companies to start giving discounts for all home hardening efforts that you guys are making, right? We don't quite know what all those changes are going to be, but they're going to be good. There, now I hear myself. Who am I? Why do I care? Just so you know a little bit about my background, I'll do it real quick. I have a few different college degrees. Sorry, let me try this one. Okay. Is this better? Hello? Okay.
You're doing great.
I know. Well, I wish you could hear me. Wait, there it is. It's like one spot on this thing. Okay, so I worked for the Department of Interior as a rangeland management specialist. I traveled the nation. I've done a lot of different projects on fuel reduction. I am from a working cattle ranch, so I grew up with loggers, ranchers, and I now own an insurance agency in Folsom. This is some of the work that I did. I did a lot of different carrying capacity calculations, published in a magazine, did a lot of fuel workload reduction. So I know a couple of things about a couple of things, and then bring it all back into being an insurance agent. I think my guys figured out my volume. These are some of the larger projects that we worked on, determining grazing carrying capacity, fuel loads. I know a lot of firefighters are in here, so I know you guys definitely know what the fuel loads are. For our community members, fuel loads are super important because that's how hot a fire is going to burn. What's your intensity? Is it 1,000-hour fuel, etc. One of the biggest questions we get with insurance is, what is a fire line? So again, pardon my going super fast, but I want to make sure you guys get as much as I can give you in this little bit. A fire line is going to determine a lot of what your premium is going to be. So it's going to be, it's only 3 factors. It's your slope, it's your accessibility, I lost myself, and then it's going to be your fuel load. So depending on those 3 things together, that's going to be a huge indicator if you need a fair plan or not. So if you look at the first picture, if you look at this first picture right here, this is a thicker, heavier fuel load is the way that they look at it. But you see the slope of the home? That's going to cost a lot more in insurance than if you were to have this home right here who has less of a fuel load and a slightly flatter slope. This is accessibility, right? If your home, this is funny to me, sorry. He's trying to figure it out. So if your home looks like this and a fire truck is trying to get down that road, your accessibility is very narrow and your insurance is going to be more expensive. If you have all 3, if you have high fuel loads, accessibility is narrow, and your home is sloped, you're going to be a super high fire line and you're going to pay a lot of money for insurance. The fire lines range from 0 to 30. Anything over a 3 is a high fire line. And I'll say that again, 3, that's it. That's very low, right? So we get questions all the time. Why is my insurance so expensive compared to my neighbor? So again, these are the questions that we get, and the first thing I ask is, what is your slope? Where's your fire line? Where is it on the scale, right? It's not, and I'll make sure that I say this extra because I talked to Sid, and you guys had a recent community member meeting. It's not the distance, it's not only the distance to a fire hydrant or a fire station. I know there's talk of closing a local fire station, but that one factor is not going to determine that your rates are going to go skyrocketing. A lot of it, most of it, is these three things right here. You also have a rating called a PPC score. There's the Insurance Service Office, which is a federal government agency, and they are the ones who determine what your PPC is across the nation. It's different here in California, so we rank it based on the hydrant distance, the fire department distance, and then the firewise community. If you guys have a chance to do a firewise community, I strongly encourage you to do it. Not just because it's obviously it saves your home, it reduces the fuel load, it protects you, but soon enough you're going to start receiving those discounts that are now part of the regulations. So the FAIR plan, I don't know how many of you guys, can you raise your hands? How many of you have a FAIR plan? Okay, so that's about half of you guys have a FAIR plan. So just in case you don't know this, I'll just drop little trinkets. A FAIR plan is not just fire. Your FAIR plan is going to cover vandalism, malicious intent, falling objects, windstorms, hail, riots. There's a lot that goes to the FAIR plan. It marries up to a DIC policy. Your DIC is also called a RAP. That's going to be your liability, water losses, medical payments, and falling objects. That's it. So when you guys get dropped for one or the other, you can shop a DIC super easy. So Farmers, State Farm, they are different, right? One requires FAIR plans, one does not, right? So just knowing little bits of what companies you can shop it with, what's a DIC carrier, who are the carriers? There's actually a link on Department of Insurance, which I put on the pamphlet outside. You can go with the company Farmers, Aegis, Pacific Specialty, Mercury, AAA. A lot of companies offer just the DIC, and then the FAIR plan is just the FAIR plan, right? This is something else so all you FAIR planners, I want to show you this just so you know exactly what you're looking at when you look at your policy. This is a quotation that we give. It's super simple, super basic. That's what I do appreciate about the FAIR plan. What you see is what you get. So if I have a $20,000 deductible and no extended replacement, this policy will be $2,912. If I change the deductible to $2,500 and I add extended replacement, I literally click 2 buttons, lift the premium. So when you guys get your FAIR plan bills and you go home and you look at them thoroughly, look at these changes that you can go through with your insurance agent to know how to save yourselves money. Here's another one. I added all the bells and whistles on this policy and it raised it literally only $329. Comparable to, if I hear a lot, if I talk to my agent and I make all these changes, I didn't save a lot of money. Well, my point of this is that you guys change your deductibles, move things around. The other thing with the FAIR plan is it's not a policy for what you want, it's a policy for what you need. If you insure yourself based on a need base on your financial portfolio, your rates come down significantly, and that's how we help our seniors. I'm super sensitive to these high fire line communities because we have retirees, we have families that are financially burdened, we have widows and widowers, right? We are not meant to, we didn't budget to have these $4,000 policies, right? I'm a family member, I get it. So we also have clients, we've had them for years, and watching the financial situations change, this is the first thing that I go through with them, is how can we reduce this down and tidy it up and help them. I only have a couple more minutes. Clear your land, please. Literally, if you work with the firewise communities, quick slides on what to do, how to clean it up, reduce the fuel loads around your home. This is one of our clients' actual homes from the Caldor fire. If you see the trees burnt because there were no ladder fuels, the fuel couldn't go up the tree, her home was totally saved. It didn't even burn the fence down. It was amazing. So the more we, I think, educate everybody as to what we can do as homeowners to protect our property, the better chance you have of not burning your home or losing your home. Jurisdiction, I want to touch on this real fast. You have a lot of people in this room that have different jurisdictions. Local responsibility areas, you have your state responsibility area. where CAL FIRE can come in? Is it a state responder? And then also, is it BIA land? Is it Forest Service land? Who's operating? These are pictures that I actually took when I was working at the feds. And if you look at the middle picture, the left side is tribal land, the right side is Forest Service land. You see the significant difference in fuel loads. So that to me is the biggest indicator of the jurisdiction and who's handling the fuel reductions is going to impact your guys' homes. These are all partners of CAL FIRE. I think it's just good to know. And Fire Safe Council's on yours. So again, I'm a huge advocate of the FireWise Council. Last, I have to get off. So the quickest way that we can change things is to speak up and do something. So thank you all for showing up. I actually appreciate it. I know it took Spit a while to get me to come out here and talk. I do a lot of presentations for other different things. But if you guys have any questions, let me know. I love helping and genuinely just answering questions. The most common way people give up the power is by thinking they don't have any, and you guys do have a lot of power. And again, I'm going to end on a FireWise note. Please get your FireWise community going. There are grants that you can apply for through Farm Bill. That's a whole different presentation or education. You guys can also apply through funding through NRCS. And most don't even know what that is. So if you guys have questions, let me know. All right, thank you. I guess I have 3 minutes for questions. So any questions?
What can you do to lower some of these plant costs? Because this one particular winery, they were $14,000, okay, the year before. Now it's $107,000. What can you do to reduce those costs?
Hi, so you've already talked to the insurance commissioner, and I'm actually interested. What did he tell you?
They're looking into it.
Okay, so, and again, we could be here all night, so for the sake of everything being distracted, I'll talk to you on the side, but what we can do is keep doing things like this. There are reasons the insurance companies are going up. There are very good reasons that some of these rates are justifiably increasing, and there's some reasons they make no sense. There's clients that I see that even I'm going, why is that going up? So every single client is different. I would have to look at it, I would have to see it, and then because that's more of a blanket question. Why are they going up? We have theft, we can get into the laws. There are things that you can, the vandalism, right? Weather, there's so much weather that has happened. So it's not just fire that we have to watch it. Oh, they're cutting me off.
Yeah. She's going to be available for more questions, and she's going to have a table up down out there that you can come and talk to her individually, okay?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about our Fire Safe Council, and so for the Greater Cameron Park Area Fire Safe Council, we established, in fact, I think it was 2019 is when we came on board with it, and our mission is to help local area residents by cooperating, partnering with local area first responders to protect people, their property, the environment, and the environment from catastrophic wildfires via education, innovation, and action. So that's what we're focused on. And within the western slope of El Dorado County, there are 30 councils throughout the area. As far east as Strawberry, and as far west as we have some in El Dorado Hills area. Greater Cameron Park is right here, and I'll put a bigger map up to show you that. And the direction in where we go, this is Highway 50, this is Cameron Estates, this is down South Shingle, this is North Shingle, all the way up to Green Valley, then down to Bass Lake, and around back out to 50. That's the boundaries for our Fire Safe Council. And the work we do, there are 6 regions within there, and within the 6 regions, we have 3 openings that are mostly on the west side. If people want to volunteer and get involved, we'd love to have you. We're looking for folks that are dynamic and that can think broadly and provide solutions and help the community. So Gina Posey, where are you? She's our secretary. She's going to be talking about FireWise. She actually established a FireWise community. I'm the chairman. Then we have Tom Romero, our UN, out of off of parking duty yet, Tom? Nope, I guess not. He's still out there. Rich Solis is one of our business folks that are involved. Sid Bassett is representing the professional entity being the CSD. He's on our board. And then Gary Anderson, I think I see him in the back in the white shirt and white hat. He was at the table. So that's who we are. Those are the people. Some really smart folks, some folks that have had stellar careers and can think really exceptionally to help crack this nut, being wildfire in our woolly environment. These are the very local response area fire agencies that we work with: Cameron Park Fire, El Dorado County Fire, El Dorado Hills Fire, and Rescue Fire. And Callan's going to speak a little bit more about them in his presentation. The state and federal agencies we work with are CAL FIRE, Amber El Dorado Unit, Bureau of Land Management, and Tribal Fire. So this was our biggest project that we undertook, and it started in 2019. You probably saw the poster outside. This here is the Pine Hill Preserve Cameron Park unit, and you can see the color coding in the wrap that goes around it. First off, 10% of all rare and endangered plants are located in that preserve within California. 10% of them are right there. Prior to 2019, there was minimal work being done in the preserve as far as fire management. It was taking some time to get things going, and that had part to do with establishing Pine Hill Preserve. It was identified as extreme fire risk, and in March of 2019, 40 delegates from all those agencies met at Station 89 and crafted this plan that came through to start to clean up around it. Nearly $300,000 in grant money was applied to it. Some of it was from a CAL FIRE grant. Others came from the California Conservation Corps and did a lot of work. They sent 4 strike teams here. They camped out at Cameron Park Lake and went up there and worked for a week at a time, and then they take a week off and then they come back. It was a real collaborative and great partnership with our first responders. So what does the Fire State Council help with? We try to educate folks on managing, creating defensible space and managing 3 zones. You can see down here there's a 0 zone from 0 to 5 feet, 5 to 30, and then 30 to 100. We also try to help people become aware of ember storms and how you can survive those by hardening your home. And that's just what we're providing as information for folks. So we also promote the information that CAL FIRE puts out relative to Ready, Set, Go, and then home hardening over here as well, moving your wood piles out as an example, tools ready that are needed to help with fires, access into your home and so forth. And we meet regularly and we talk about these things so that people in the community can become aware. Okay, Gina. And again, if you have questions, please fill out the cards. We're going to take questions via written cards. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. To the CSD, thanks for the opportunity. To all of our representatives here, thanks for being here today. Is anybody, can you hear me in the back? Can't hear me in the back? Can you hear me now? Wow, it's like you gotta eat this thing. Okay. So I'm Gina Posey. Okay, I'm Gina Posey. I am on the Fire State Council for Greater Cameron Park. I'm also on some other committees in the county. But I'm here to talk about being a homeowner. And in our community, I saw last year that I got canceled and I was moving. And I said, this is sad because I really love El Dorado County. I love all the great things that we have here in our county, the wonderful nature, the people. It's just a wonderful place to live. And so I looked around to see if there was anything I could do. Well, sadly, the fire happened. Well, then there was a moratorium. So my insurance got retroactively put back in place, so I didn't have to move. And then I started to think and said, what about becoming a Firewise community? Because I had heard that they were going to offer discounts if you became a Firewise community. I also heard that it would reduce the chance of being canceled. Now, I can't guarantee you, if you become Firewise, that you won't be canceled. But now that we have the regulations that they suggested last year have actually come to fruition, you will find that being part of a Firewise community will offer homeowners discounts. But even more importantly, I think it reduces the risk of being canceled. So put those two things together, I think it's well worth your time to consider. Next slide. So becoming a fire-wise community is through the National Fire Prevention Association. My community has 66 homes, contiguous homes. It also overlaps a road association. That really helped me because I had the email addresses for everybody in my community, so it was very easy to reach out. We did a lot of outreach saying, I'm interested in doing this. I want to see if the community will support it. We had a road association meeting once a year. Most of you are in homeowners associations, possibly. You probably have a homeowners association meeting once at least a year. And that could be an opportunity where you ask whether they're interested. And I said, if you're interested, I need 10 people to sign this piece of paper. And if you don't, then I'm not doing it. And I got 10 people to sign the piece of paper. So we said, okay, let's look into it. Next slide. So what does it take to become a fire-wise community? It doesn't mean that every home came to the meeting and agreed to be part of the community. It means that we found enough people who were interested. I had a team of about 5 or 6 people that came to the meetings. We had 3 meetings. We got our fire agencies immediately involved, and they were fabulous. Without our fire agencies, we would never achieve fire-wise status. We had El Dorado Hills, Ron Phillips, we had El Dorado County, Braden, we had Rescue, and what was important there was they know topography and they know slope and all these terms that I, as a homeowner, would have no clue about. And when you fill out the application for fire-wise, you have to have that insight. And that's where your fire agency resources are going to be able to help you. So you got to form that committee, right? You got to get a core group of people in your area interested. You got to get your fire resources interested. You come together. You decide where your boundaries are. You have to have at least 8 homes, but usually something's going to make sense. Like for us, it was the road association. That made sense. So then what you do is you have to do an assessment. Now, some people first would think, well, they're going to find all kinds of problems wrong with my property, so I don't want to play. I don't want the county coming to me and fining me and telling me I got to do this or the other thing. One of the biggest obstacles I had was getting folks to understand, one, this was voluntary. I mean voluntary, absolutely voluntary, okay? And 2, the county is not coming to your property because you're fire-wise and looking at your property and going to fine you for having this, that, or the other thing on. That's not how this works. So you conduct an assessment from the street, figure out your baseline, then you complete a 3-year plan of how you're going to improve things. You put that all together in an application, you send it off, and then you become fire-wise. In that 3-year plan, you're going to be making progress. That's the key, progress. Everyone in your fire-wise community has to do 1 hour of defensible space a year. Everybody does more than 1 hour. Even if you mow your lawn, you've done 1 hour of defensible space, right? This is easy. And here are the 10 best practices I want you to think about going forward. Paul mentioned embers. Think of a rainstorm, right? Your house is getting hit with rain. Now turn all those raindrops into fire embers. Think about how they're going to get in your home. Oh, maybe you have a lifetime roof. Oh, my house isn't going to burn. But if your vents are more than 1/8 of an inch, and an ember gets in your vent, then your house burns, okay? These are the most important things you can do to protect your home against fire. Make sure you don't have things around your propane tank that could burn, right? We all don't like the way our propane tanks look, so we build little lattices. No, bad idea. You want to make sure your vents, this is one of the things that most people do not have. Most have 1/4 inch, it's too big. You need 1/8 of an inch. You need to make sure that fire resources can get to your home. That means reflective addresses on both sides of your mailbox. So when you go home and it's dark, go both ways and make sure you can read your address. Other things that are really important, pre-emergence. I know if you're organic, you're not going to want to do that. I understand, that's okay. But otherwise, early, January, start thinking. Put down your pre-emergence so that all your grasses don't grow. Very helpful. And you can read the other ones yourself. Next slide. And today is our birthday because Sierra Firewise just launched its brand new website. It's not meant just for our community. It's open to the public, and I plan to put a lot of county information about Firewise, about fire. Feel free to come visit us, and if you have any questions, I will be out with the Insurance Commissioner Resource, Mary Beth. Feel free to ask me if you're interested in becoming Firewise. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gina. Next, we've got Chief Richards from CAL FIRE, and he's going to walk us through some wildfire simulations in the Pine Hill Reserve. It'll be how it was before it was treated and then after treated. So, Colin?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Colin Richards, Battalion Chief of the CAL FIRE Amateur Eldorado Unit. I'm serving as the Fire Marshal here locally in Cameron Park. I'd like to introduce our cooperators and partners with Fire and Law. We have El Dorado County Sheriff's Office, El Dorado County Fire Protection District, Bureau of Land Management, Red Hawk Tribe, El Dorado Hills Fire, CAL FIRE, Cameron Park Fire Rescue, and the United States Forest Service. Something unique about El Dorado County, we all work together as close partners in this county. Another unique thing about El Dorado County is we have a true boundary drop and closest resource concept for responses to emergencies. What that means is no matter where you live or where you are, the closest resources, Fire and Law, will be dispatched to an emergency wherever you live or wherever you are. We're going to go and show you 2 computer wildland-driven simulations. Please note that these simulations are sped up about 4 minutes each, but it's going to depict a 24-hour period, so it's extremely accelerated. And these are strictly tools just to show you the benefits of defensible space and to show you how something would burn with no fire suppression, critical conditions, and no defensible space or fuels management. So, I'm going to start there. So that's Meter Road. Again, this is sped up. We're already an hour into this burn period. And we're going to talk, any football fans in the room? Not one, but we got a couple. So the analogy I like to give is, you guys are the defensive line. You guys are going to do the work ahead of time that gives us, the fire department, we're the offensive line. We're going to come in with a hammer, and we're going to come in to suppress fires and attack it. But we need your guys' help ahead of time to create that defensible space and give us access. So as you can see, the fire's burning. This is 5 or 6 hours into the burn period, no suppression efforts. In this county, in this area, we have a lot of fire engines, Type 3 engines, local fire engines, bulldozers, aircraft. It includes fixed-wing air tankers, helicopters, hand crews, water tenders, overhead, chief officers. They're all going to be responding aggressively to these emergencies with that boundary drop. So things that you guys can do to help. We respond into this neighborhood and we find access to the fire. We need to be able to communicate where we are to the other resources responding. Something that you guys can make sure it's posted, your address. I know it sounds simple, but having a posted address is very, very important to us. That way we can communicate where we are, where the needs are. We're not trying to describe a house and people are confused. We're looking on the map, it buys time. Make sure your driveways are cleared so we can get fire apparatus and bulldozers in there so we're not stuck on driveways or trying to cut trees out of the way when we're trying to make access. And the big thing, defensible space. I know you've heard the word defensible space over and over again. Come talk to some of the fire prevention officers out at the booths afterwards, and they can give you resources and brochures on what that actually means. So here we are, we're about 8 hours into this. Approximately 300 acres burned. Again, no fire suppression efforts at all. This is just a tool showing you how the fire would naturally burn under critical conditions through a computer program. Other things you can do, pass the word along to your neighbors, right? We want to create fire breaks. So if we have good defensible space in one area, we need to have defensible space that's continuous from house to house to house. That gives us that perimeter fire break. One thing we talk about when we're fighting fires is we want anchor points, right? We have to start somewhere to start containing the edge of the fire. If you have good defensible space at your house, good access, we can get to your house. start an anchor point, start attacking that fire, which benefits you because you have your house there, right? So clearing brushes, making sure your gates are open, or you guys have, if you do have a gate, making sure you have a fire department or sheriff lock on it. Did this thing cut out? Still hear me? Okay. All right, so we're just about done here. This is 10 hours in. You can see that total burned 600 acres, and again, critical condition. So let's go to the next one. So the next illustration is going to show the same exact scenario, but this time it's going to show all of the homes and subdivisions that were built in there with good defensible space. So when we talk about areas around wildland, we have wildland interface and wildland intermix. So interface is going to be, I have a subdivision here with a bunch of homes, boom, 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 homes. That's interfacing with the wildland area, like in Cameron Park. Down in South Cameron, out in Shingle Springs Rescue, we have what's called the intermix, where you have those 5, 10, 15 acre parcels intermixed in the wildland. Different issues, but the same concept of creating that defensible space, giving the fire department time, and giving us anchor points to start perimeter control. So as you can see, the fire's burning in the open spaces, and it's just kind of skirting along the back of these homes. Why? They put in non-combustible fencing. They reduce the fuels. They put fire breaks in. They have home hardening techniques that they use. Non-combustible roofs, screens, vents. Those houses don't catch on fire. They are more resistant. That gives us time to attack fire that's burning and buys us more time. So as you can see, fire's just kind of skirting along those open spaces, a lot less intensity. So we'll talk about how we respond. In the summertime, we base our responses based on fuel and weather conditions and time of day. Those are tiered dispatches depending on how what wildland threat we have at that moment. And like I said, we respond with fire engines, closest resource, hand crews to cut line around the fire, bulldozers to remove brush and get access for us. We have our fixed wing air tankers. We have a regional air tanker base out of Sacramento, McClellan Tanker Base, that's equipped with large air tankers that have load capacities that exceed some of our initial attack aircraft. So again, just showing that all this area in this subdivision have good defensible space, and this is still with no suppression efforts. So a big difference. So the big, the message, like I said, is getting ahead of it. We don't want to make defensible space during an emergency. We won't have the time. It's too dangerous for homeowners to stay and create defensible space during a firefight. So getting ahead of it, making sure you have all the information you need. We have our booths, and then we'll be available for questions. You guys can write on the cards, and then also after the event, myself and my colleagues in the back will talk to you guys if you have any more specific questions, only about 10 minutes, but this is just kind of to show you that the defensible space is hands down the best thing that you guys can do to prepare for wildfire. And I have some websites. Again, we'll give you that information at the booth outside.
Thank you.